Hey guys, I thought you'd like to see the back of Kane's head. He's like sitting over here with his mama. And he's decided to get up now, guys. It's just a. So there's my stairs. But anyway, guys, what I was sitting here thinking about was, I'd done the video about what happened to my family when they went through Katrina and back in '05. And, in the inside of the fact that Dorian is coming in, I remember that, well, I guess it was well over a week ago now when I first heard about that storm. It kind of, turned my head, when I heard the name of the storm because it made me think about, where I'd heard that name before. And of course, Dorian, it makes me think of the old Victorian novel that Oscar Wilde wrote. Um, and, uh, and it was called A Picture of Dorian Gray. And Dorian was a young man that, he was kind of footloose and, he was wealthy and he was very good looking and he was kind of into just, pleasure and his looks. He thought that those were the most important things. And, it kind of sounds like, you know, the enemy, right? That he was very beautiful. And so, but he didn't have much of a moral compass, and he had commissioned a gentleman to paint a portrait of himself. And in the portrait, he was, you know, supposedly young and beautiful, but yet the weird thing was, guys, is that as he became more corrupt and even sold his soul to stay youthful looking and beautiful and the playboy that he was, and he was very immoral, like sexually and things like that. And it was actually a very racy novel, at the time, because there was even some people say that that's why Oscar Wilde was imprisoned for a couple of years because of the moral implications of the novel that he wrote, because it was, rather sensational for the time. And it as the story progresses, this young man Dorian Gray, the more corrupt he becomes and the more morally bankrupt he becomes, the portrait starts to change. And it becomes that gnarly, twisted, evil looking man that really reflects his soul. um, and it's, I remember, like, I read it as a young girl and I thought it was rather, to me, it was scarier than something like Dracula or Frankenstein, by Mary Shelley, or, any of these things. And Bram Stoker's, let's face it. I mean, if you guys have ever seen the old black and white movie of Nosferatu, I mean, where that old vampire is like, with the big long fingers, and I think Max Schreck is the actor who played him. Had the big dark circles under his eyes and the fangs and all. I mean, it was rather sensational as well. And yet, the picture of Dorian Gray always kind of bothered me more, I guess, because I think it is it says that the Lord is the reader of hearts and minds, and he sees, our soul, and he sees into the hearts and minds of man. And if we're covered under his shed blood, we're all sinners. These Jesus died for our sins. And but this man, it's even going on to this day, because this is a true picture of what some people do. They do sell out for, and sell their souls to the devil for fame and fortune and looks and things like that. So in either case, guys, it I think it was rather, um I guess, appropriate that they've called this storm that, because the hidden portrait that was becoming all evil looking and everything was hidden. It was a cult. It was, you know, they saw a young man in front of them that was, beautiful and everything, and yet, on the inside he was rather evil and dark. And so it's, even though we know that that this storm is devastating, in and of itself, could there be other things, that we don't know? I heard a a video tonight by Sister Sherry at the Andrew Rich channel, and she was saying that a couple of the tweets that have come out almost make it seem like that perhaps some of the scientists or the people in the know a little bit more about this storm than what we even do, when what's being reported is horrible. I mean, the people in the path of the storm, like really need to be evacuating or making plans now, because they say that the islands in the Bahamas are really getting pounded now. So anyway, guys, I just thought I would mention that because I thought it was rather um, unusual that they've named the storm Dorian, and perhaps it is just coincidence, but I don't choose to really believe that. I don't think anything's a coincidence now, and you all can research that for yourselves and see what you think. But in either case, guys, I love you all, and I'm sure we'll talk real soon.